incredible but true. But for many, it's part of daily life. For others, it's luxury. Electricity, drinking water is a right, not a privilege. In 2023, 730 million people in the world still live without electricity. 13% of the population having to use candle and kerosene at night. But the biologist Mayra Garcia, the environmental engineer Angie Polo, the agricultural engineer Jose Perosa, we will propose solution in this regard. Africa, with 568 million people without electricity, ranks first in the world. 90 million people in Africa and Asia who having access to electricity, they don't have money to pay for it. In addition, more than 2.4 million people could using fossil fuel that are bad for health and the environment. Where people lie without access to energy, the large percent is in Africa. 67 of the population without electricity and 57% no proper cooking facilities. However, renewable energy source grew 17.7% during the pandemic. Solar, biomass, hydraulic winds. It is predicted that by 2030, there will still be 607 million people without access to electricity. Progress was stopped by COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine. Today, 2023, around 2 million people don't have access to drink water, and 3.6 million lack access to a healthy system and efficient water storage. According to the Organization of the United Nations, 297,000 children under 5 years of age die in the world from diarrhea disease due to lack of drinking water. This is the oldest and most powerful energy source in our galaxy. It can be said that it greatly influenced the formation of our planets. When Earth's temperature increased, the mass of ice gave rise to water, and this how the first form of life appeared on Earth. We could say that all the energy sources we use today have their origin in the sun through photosynthesis. The plant, by their roots, they draw water from the ground, and by its leaf carbon dioxide from the earth. And when receiving the sunlight, produce oxygen and sugar, which is then converted into biomass in the form of fruits and vegetables that are the main source of energy in the food chain. Then, when man discovered fire, he used wood to produce heat energy, and heat then self type of energy, electromagnetics, based on the magnetic attraction of magnets that can be attracted or repelled. In this demonstration, the magnetic wave emits the neon gas from in the inside of the balls. It emits light, kinetics, and gravitational energy. The pendulum is the highest power stored potential energy, and when it descends, it becomes kinetic energy. Chemical and thermal energy. Energy is contained in matter and in the presence of heat on another substance, it is transformed into light or heat. Example are batteries, coal, oil that transform into heat, movement, or electricity. Nuclear energy. It is produced by splitting the uranium element nucleus and releasing three neutrons, a chain reaction. Produce constant heat used to produce steam that move a turbine, and this moves a generators that produce electricity. Then it goes to a transformers and from there to the homes. Energy source, renewable, solar energy, wind energy, blue energy, hydraulics, geothermal, seawater, tides, thermoelectrics, biomass, and not renewable, nuclear fuel, uranium, fossil fuels, coal, petroleum, and gas.
Santa Cruz del Islote is located near the Gulf of the Morrosquillo in Colombia. It hosts 846 peoples. There are 146 houses. It has a small soccer field. Its total area measures approximately 1 acres. This community lives in conditions of extreme poverty, but despite this, people say that they are very happy living here. These artificial islands was built by men who building in the middle of the coral with stone, rubbles, and garbage. It is famously known worldwide for being one of the most densely populated islands on Earth. These islands has no mangroves, no beaches, and no mosquitoes. People who die are buried on neighboring islands. It doesn't have basic service in good condition. Educational service. They has a school, but at to grade 9 in high schools. To finish high schools, they must travel to the neighboring islands. It's necessary, it's a priority to create the school at the grade 11 so that all our high schools graduates and think about training the population with touring course, seeing that with what they living on. Medical assistance service is a health center with a one nurse. The doctor comes once a month when they get very sick. They have to travel to Toulouse, Sucre. There is a pharmacist, but not all medicines are theirs. It is a period to pay more attention to these fundamental rights, even if it is a doctor all day and medicine as available to the populations. Road systems and transport service. There are roads only very narrow parts when you can only walk. There aren't car or motorcycles. Here space is gold. There is a way to improve this condition. Services of the security. They live as a family. There isn't violence, no crime. It is something positive for this island to live in harmony. Supply systems. There are two small shops when you can get all kind of food and products at a good price. Solid waste collection systems. The garbage is taken to the neighboring islands, but there is a lot of garbage at the bottoms of the sea. You can see shoes, bags, fans, toilets. The bottoms of the sea is very detailed. A serious solutions is explains to the peoples how the garbage that they throws into the sea may seem little, but it's really is a lot over time. it can infect or even kills many animals that pollinate or get trappers in a create street louds for the maze manage os garbage. If you get caught littering, you will have to pay a social penalty, such as cleaning the entire island for a week. The drinking water systems. The water is like gold. In winter, it rains a lot and they collect the rainwaters, but the summers last 6 to 7 months and they must buy fresh waters or request it from the National Army. But it takes a long time to arrive. When the water arrives, they get it to dense device by families, but even so, it is scarce and expensive. The solution will be by desalinations plants to have fresh waters available all the time. The electricity distribution networks. They has 380 solar panels that the Japanese government donates to them to have energy during the day and keep the fish refrigerated. But at night they must buy 60 gallons of ACPNs. For the plants, has light at night. It is very expensive for them to buy ACPNs. A solutions using waste energy at night, which works with the move of the waste produced by the winds and generate electricity. It can also be used to pump desalinated water. These machines is bytes that exploits the energy of the waves only once but is needed since it produces energy that can provide electricity to the 660 homes. It will be used at night and during the day to the pump fresh water. Storage and wastewater service. There is insurance resistance 40% of the homes still throws feces into the sea. The rest of the community use septic tanks, and the solution is a biodigester connected to the draining signs such as toilets. The biodigester is fed with organic waste and used waters, so with beneficial bacteria are added that decompose organisms from methane. Once the waste mixes with the waters, the heat inside the connect creates gases, and the bacteria produce gas for cooking. Two problems of organic waste and used water will be solved, and there will be a benefit that is a gas for cooking since there is no public service on the island.
The Amazon region is a huge span of land of more than 6.7 million square kilometers, belonging to 9 different countries: Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, French Guiana, Suriname, eh, and Guyana. Many of their communities can only be reached by navigating dozens of rivers that cross the regions. In addition, it is an environmentally very sensitive area. and crucial importance for the planets, whose ecosystem can be seriously affected by the action humans. And now that the Amazon is the lungs of the world, for this reason, the construction of electricity generation and distribution infrastructure will not be good idea in these regions. Their inhabitants use a small generator based on highly pollution and excessively expensive fossil fuels, kerosene, lamps, and candles. To help the inhabitants of the Peruvian Amazon to live better, we propose a small photovoltaic system that works with solar cells. Each solar cell has two layers of semiconductor, a N-type two layer, silicon plus phosphorus, a boron layer type P, silicon plus boron. When the ray of light hit the upper layer, it releases electrons. To fill those spaces, it attracts electrons for the lower layer, giving rise to flow of electrons. That is the electric current we use at home for our appliances. And they could use it for light at night and die in that place. A solar calculator, you can see when you cover iris panel, the image on the screen disappear. With this panel, we are going to turn on this light bulb. Small, free to preserve fish and animal cats in the jungle. Television so that they are informed of what is happening in the world and distract the family. Solar radio, solar portable lantern to be able to work at night. For help and care of water source, we will implement a toilet system with aseptic tanks plus elevator tank plus toilets, uh, pumping water to elevator tank with a solar electric pumps. You like this to this region is to teach how to use these useful products to make water drinkable and prevent this in people.
Now I am going to tell you about Jirol, a city in South Sudan. First of all, let's talk a bit about South Sudan. This country is known in various ways. The first is the newest country in the world, the second is the most corrupt country in the world, and also the poorest country in the world. The situation in South Sudan and neighboring countries have become a humanitarian emergency. After nearly a decade of conflict and despite effort to reach a peace agreement, South Sudan continues to struggle with both of violence, chronic food insecurity, and the devastating impact of major flooding. In the capital of Sudan, you have a tropical wind and dry climate. Because it is located near the equator line, temperatures are warm throughout the year. Most of the roads in the country are one paved, and there is the only one main country road that connect different cities in that country. There are many cities affected by corruption and conflict. Many of the people who live in precarious conditions, which have been aggravated by the COVID-19 pandemic, drought, and food insecurity. Among them in the city of Tirol, where most people live in villages or tribes, In July 2011, the population of Europe was estimated to be approximately 11,615. This city is surrounded by bodies of water, a river and a lake that offer water for human and livestock use and consumption. Fish from the river and lake are a much needed source of protein for the local population. That house are made of straw, lawn and mud. Lakways electricity only exists in about 10% of the country. They do not have a television and only one or two people have a cell phone. In the house, 2 to 10 people can sleep. They do not have a refrigerator or any electrical appliance. They use solar energy that they use in a specific place, like a store in one of the villages. Also, another energy resource such as natural gas or crude oil are used. But solar panels are less efficient when there are clouds. In addition, wind and water power plants do not always work at full load. All these values are only useful in relation to other energy sources. One way to improve conditions in this country is through the consolidation of peace and the improvement of politics. Improve food security and recover local economies. In addition, strengthen social service.
Thank you so much. These are the credits.